I am Jim Collison, and this is the CliftonStrengths Podcast Season 3, recorded on January 26th, 2024. In this CliftonStrengths podcast series, we'll look at how to feel more energized and motivated at work, one theme at a time, and today's theme is focus. If you're listening live, join us in chat, or if you have questions after the fact, you can always email us, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant, and joined me for Season 1 and 2 of the CliftonStrengths podcast, where we looked at well-being at work, our book, and the CliftonStrengths role-based reports in Season 2. And Jaclynn, always great to be with you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We are spending the season thinking about bringing energy and motivation. I think it's important to say as well, energy and motivation with your
Yeah.
themes to work. Today, we're talking about focus. Let's talk about the individual first. So what are some ways an individual with focus can feel more energized? And we use the word by focusing on their basic needs, small f, on that focus.
I think anytime you can block time, daily or weekly, for a power hour, it's a beautiful thing. This is time that could specifically be for, tackling any key priorities that you have without distraction. So I've seen some people start off their mornings early before everyone else is in the office or on email to get stuff done, or they'll stay, an hour later. But this could also be a really good time just to take a step back and reprioritize the responsibilities that have accrued on your plate over the last, week, so that you can resort and think about what to do first.
You have focus high. I have a very, very low. When you
Hmm.
think about someone with focus in their top five, does the environment bend to them, or do they bend to the environment? In other words, can they focus in the midst of chaos? Can they focus? And it depends on a lot of things, but
Yeah.
do you think they influence the environment to so they can be focused, or they're focused and the environment adapts to them? I don't know. Any thoughts on that as
Ooh,
you think about the two? I
that's a
mean, it
good
could be, maybe
one.
it's both, but I don't know. Any thoughts on that? And
Yeah, it's one of those where I've seen two strands, and some people high in focus can take the chaotic environment and it's just white noise and they can completely hone in. And others, I know, like me, I prefer not the chaos. I need more
mhm,
of that quiet space to really hone in and zone in on what I want to get done. So usually in coaching, I'll ask somebody if they have that high, what is your preferred way of getting work done?
yeah,
Is chaos a distraction? Because if it
right.
is, it's so helpful to get that power hour so you can take a step back and just figure out what you need to get done first. Otherwise, your brain kind of feels like a hamster spinning in a wheel. It's a little anxiety ridden.
Yeah, I think it's good to know how to set that up. I think people there are some folks who can go into just chaos, and Kevin Costner was in this baseball movie. I forget the name of it, but he'd say a word and it would invoke this focus, and all he would see is the catcher, and everything else would fade out. It
Love
would just
that.
right, and he could invoke the focus. And I think for others, the environment maybe need to be set up in a way. In other words, I have a focus room that I go to, or I have a place I
Mhm.
go where it's quiet that allows me to kind of drill in and be most productive in that. I think that's maybe a second level of focus, of knowing, like, okay, for my basic needs, I'm going to need to set up either I'm going to need to set up the environment, or I'm going to need to invoke the environment to kind of make it work for me. That may be
Yeah.
that next level. Any other thoughts on that before we move on?
I think that's good, especially if you're thinking from the individual perspective. And then if they're on a team, then someone high in focus can help kind of, get people focused on the one goal.
Yeah.
I think that can be a benefit of it. But if it's just solo task work, yeah, the way I think we're describing it could be either or.
Now, Jacqueline, focus. We're talking about the individual, not the team.
Focus.
So the next question: what are some ways an individual with focus can feel more energized by, again, focusing on their individual strengths and development?
As someone that can lose track of time when you have this theme, it's really easy to just get lost in the flow, the literal flow. But specifically pay attention to what you're loving that you're working on or what you're loving that you're learning. Make note of
Mm,
what that is so you can search out additional opportunities in the workplace to build on more of those exciting projects or learnings, or to share it out with your team members or manager so they can have their eyes and ears open for more of those opportunities.
mhm.
So it's using the flow with more intention, because if anyone's seen someone high in focus, it always looks like they're in flow once they're in work mode. But it'd be good for that individual with focus to decipher, what is it that I feel the energy when I'm doing it.
Yeah, and maybe that focus intentionally is always outward facing in some ways of getting things done, and yet
Mhm.
their own development may be getting themselves done. And that
Mhm.
may take some
Oh, that's good.
intentionality, right? Of
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, okay, I'm gonna take a second and think about my own development in this
Mhm.
very purposefully and in a very focused way that allows me to get to the end of something." Because there may be other things that are just distracting,
Mhm.
that getting things completed or in the zone one thing at a time. Everybody's
Yeah.
different on that, of course. I guess that's one thing to think about for those of you high in focus. We could maybe spend a little more time in the mid show talking about it. But
Yeah.
what are some ways an individual with focus can feel more energized by building partnerships? You alluded to this a little bit earlier, but finding purpose within their role.
I think if we were thinking workplace, working with individuals with different strengths who are striving towards that same team goal that you are, that can be energizing. And it can provide you with the freedom to focus. We want to use that, phrase.
Yeah.
Because if you're partnering with someone who loves to multitask and they like taking on that more multidimensional or fast moving element to the project, that's great. That allows you to really focus on key priorities or one part of that overall project. And I think we might be good examples of that with your arranger high and my focus high. Is you're so great at just moving everything around. And I just like to focus on, the one
Mhm.
thing. So,
Well, you
it's a
get
good
this
pairing.
done. You get this done. I can ask the questions. I could show up for the webcast. I'll get it scheduled and all those other things, but your focus on a weekly basis gets the content built. And the way you work, and I've seen you do this, is you just block out this time. You're like, I'm doing it
Mhm.
right here and I'm getting it done. And so yeah, that is a good partnership as we think about the manager in this role as well, and some partnering with it. It is the partnership that works for us. And
Mhm.
this is why things get done. It's not, I don't, if it was up to me by myself, we would never, this would, we do it. It just wouldn't be as good as it is good. Let's make that transition to the manager. How can a manager with focus support others with their basic needs?
A couple of things here. So they could use their focus to prioritize expectations based on importance and urgency, and then highlight the most critical expectations that require the immediate attention of team members. And then we can also think about, barriers that might exist. So when setbacks or obstacles arise, your team's really looking to you for that alignment and stability. And you can demonstrate that determination and perseverance by helping them start to think through a roadmap that's going to keep them on target.
Mm.
Because you've got that North Star in your sky and you can just help them continue to pivot.
We talk a lot about the we versus me, and so how some themes lead with me and some lead with we, I think. And this one, I think, definitely in our minds leads with me. I think when we think of focus, we think of the individual first.
Hmm.
But I love, as you're
That's
talking
true.
about this, I love the we in this, where it's like, no, that a team needs focus. And so
Hmm.
someone high in focus can be, and use that term North Star, to continue to drive them forward. Someone's always keeping an eye on the ball. This is the thing for me.
Yeah.
If I have a project that's longer than 2 days, I mean, good luck. It just doesn't. I've already forgotten about it 3 hours after we started it, right? I need friends, and we're going through a lot of things right now where I need some, project management friends with focus who will continue to drive some of those things forward. There's other themes
Yeah.
involved in that, of course, but the focus definitely helps. On that. How can a manager with focus help others feel seen, heard, and valued? Again, that me versus we, and this just turns it into a we question, right? How does a manager take that focus and then with others make them feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual?
I think they can pay close attention to the details of a team member and really zone in on that team member's personal and professional interests. Get to know their strengths, their weaknesses, their aspirations, their challenges, and then start to tailor your interactions to support those specific needs and circumstances. So you've got that roadmap now that you know what their loves and dislikes and goals and challenges are, and you can really support them in that way and
Mhm.
keep them on that road to success.
Mhm. Yeah, remember the goal here is success. So using
Mhm.
that focus to achieve small a in that case, but to get things done, to stay on target, so to speak. How can a manager with focus build trust, inspire, and deepen team collaboration and community then?
Integrating team bonding activities with work related goals and projects, I'd say.
Mm,
Find those opportunities where social connections can start to enhance the task performance and project outcomes while also deepening rapport at the same time. So
mhm.
it's kind of a fun blend of saying, hey, we've got a goal to achieve. Let's do it in a really engaging team bonding type of way. And maybe it's when I see it done, even on our team, we might be talking about revamping a course as an example. We might be in breakouts on Zoom, and we're each having our ideas that we're generating in those breakouts specific to how we want to revamp a course. So that's one way that it might be visible with focus is, hey, we've got this goal. Let's make it fun on how we're going to achieve it.
A manager with focus, we think about these 5 coaching conversations, right, that a manager has,
Hmm.
and you've talked a lot about the team, but I think there's also some benefits to the manager relationship, to those they're managing, and in those conversations, having this deep focus. I mean,
Hmm.
when I meet with people, I am all over the place, right? I just which in some cases can be really, really good and very, very useful. I feel honored when I'm talking with someone, and maybe this is I actually, as I'm saying this, I think you do this for me all the time. You actually listen. You're focused in on what I'm saying, you're paying attention. I
Hmm.
think, by the way, I'm not sure that's always reciprocal, so I'm sorry if I've if I'm all over the place when you and I are talking is and such,
Oh, no, you're good.
but it building trust as a manager with those they're managing, that may be that area, right, where they can bring
Yeah.
focus in that conversation. Any additional thoughts on that?
Yes, I think you just framed up really well what I wanted to hit on with the manager with focus helping someone feel seen, heard, and valued.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
you mentioned it in a different way that I think lands well. So thank you for your communication theme. But it's an active listening. It's little focus. Use your big focus theme to focus definition wise on that person's goals and aspirations and genuinely listen because you already have that ability to zone in on something and they're going to feel it.
mhm,
And when you're reciprocating it by saying, okay, now what do we want to do with this? What do we want to do with your aspirations and these challenges? That's going to make them feel really valued as a
mhm.
person. Yeah.
It's an amazing skill that when I work with somebody who has it and they draw me in with that focus, and I
Hmm.
know I have their attention, I open up. I give more. I'm probably more productive because of it. Because I trust. It builds trust. Not yeah yeah. It builds trust.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool. I think that's an underrated thing as for managers and thinking about that is your conversations matter, and that's a skill that you can use as because listen, I've done plenty of meetings with people and they said to me, "Are you still listening?" Because my eyes are
Really?
drifting, doing something else
Ah.
during meetings. Sometimes I'm doing other jobs, right? Because I just don't. That's just not the way I'm built. It's an honor, by the way, folks, for those of you listening who have high focus. It is an honor for me to have a conversation with you when you're in focus mode. I can feel it, and I think others can as well. So, last question as we kind of bring this in for a landing: how can a manager with focus support the growth of each team member?
The structured and goal oriented approach that someone high in focus has, they can really help employees start to see the value of feedback and achieving their objectives. When you're conducting those regular one-on-one check-in meetings to discuss their progress or challenges, you could even add in adjustments to their development plans based on where they're at and where they need to go. So, really use those meetings to reinforce the importance of focus. And I think that can help foster accountability, clarity, and then continuous improvement with each team member, but also the team itself when you're thinking about team goals.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Did I steal your thunder by what I said before when you in the sentence you just said? Was that okay?
I think, yeah, it
Okay.
was
All right.
good. You
All right.
always reframe something up in a way where I'm like, yes, that. We've talked about this
W
before, team
w
too. I'm like,
y
he simplifies things
I don't
in
get
a
your
way that's
notes.
like, yes.
Yeah, I don't get your notes for folks just kind of behind the scenes. I don't get your notes in advance. I have some questions and I'm just responding to. So sometimes I've noticed I've said things that you were going to say farther down the path. Although you're very skilled at making sure you don't do that. So, Jaclynn, right? Let's do a final wrap on this. Final thoughts on focus.
Ooh. Um, well, for the individual that has it, is looking at some of the comments too, and there was a lot of feedback and reciprocity in this idea that we can get anxious with chaos. So
Mhm.
if you are someone that knows somebody with focus high, and it is a chaotic environment, any way that you can just support can be
Yeah.
helpful. And then giving time and space. If you're a manager and you have someone high in focus, giving them the space and the quiet time to adjust and adapt and reprioritize is really helpful. But if you're the person that has to go through the chaos because you have high focus, just make sure you're really attuned to your well-being and getting a power hour in or just a walk around the neighborhood or something to kind of just sort through what it is you need to do, and feel aligned and grounded again.
Mm. Well, with that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available in Gallup Access. More like this available there, my.gallup.com. Log in and check the resources section, or you can go to gallup.com and click the search bar and then just put focus in there. And all the resources we have around it are available there. Check it out. For you learners, get out there and get that done today. For coaching, master coaching, if you want to become a Gallup certified strengths coach, we do that as well. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. If you want to join us for the 2024 Gallup at Work Summit, or maybe it's after that, we're probably doing something. Check out our website, Gallup at Work, all one word, gallupatwork.com. Love to have you join us for those events. We got some coming up, and they're going to be dynamite. Stay up to date on all our future webcasts by joining our Facebook or LinkedIn groups. Of course, you can find us on any social platform just by searching Clifton Strengths, all one word. And if you've enjoyed it, hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you found it useful, share it. We make these so you can share it, by the way. No secret. We want you to share them. So, however you do that. Thanks for coming out today. If you're listening live, stay around for a little bit of a mid show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.